Good morning.
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 Well, welcome to our second CMS training, and I'm delighted that you were all able to join us today for this training. We have a lot of fun things to go over, and I wanted to first just kind of give you a verbal overview of where we are, what we're doing, what's gone on with the website, that kind of thing. So there's nothing to really watch or see yet. I just pulled up the current website for you to look at while I'm talking, and then I'll tell you when we're going to go to the new CMS. So the first thing I wanted to say is that this project has been a labor of love by enrollment marketing and by everyone in the team here. We've been working on this for probably about the last month or so, editing pages and getting things to a point where we wanted to unveil them to you. So let me just go ahead and say that one of the reasons why we went for a redesign was because of the existing website had a long lifespan, but we had outgrown it, and it was time to move into something a little bit easier to use for everyone. And we found Cascade to be that product. Another reason why is the website that we have now is not responsive. That means that when I would size down my screen or try to view this on a mobile device or a tablet, I would not have a good experience. So one of the reasons was responsive design for the redesign. Now, next question I wanted to answer real quick is how your content was migrated to the new website. And that was done so starting after August 30th. We had what I call a content lockdown. We used a piece of software called HT-Track, which scraped the existing website, taking about 5 days to do. And we scraped everything. We scraped the content, we scraped the images, we scraped PDFs, you name it. And upon doing that, then we took that content and would migrate it into Cascade using a migration tool. And that's something that Steve and I did on our end with our part, doing some programming and whatnot to make that work. The other thing that was going on at this time was the website was getting its, if you will, its skeleton being built. And that was being done through us and through IT. Our website is now going to be housed on our servers here at Point Park rather than externally. So that was a change in direction for us as well. Again, another exciting thing for us to have at our disposal now. The migration of the content took about a week to do. The reason why was because of everything I mentioned before, but also because there was a large amount of news articles and resources like that that need to be linked up and connected and so forth. So the next thing I can tell you is I want to talk to you about is Cascade. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Cascade login page. You're not going to be able to log in at the moment because you're watching me do it. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about what is Cascade, and we're going to go from there. So Cascade is, the best analogy I can tell you is it's very similar to a Lego set. A Lego set comes with instructions for building the set that you purchased, of course, and that could be a pirate ship or a police station or the Millennium Falcon, for that matter. But those designs were built by a team of Swedish Lego designers and developers. So all you have to do is really follow their instructions. And what Cascade is basically it's giving you the Lego set with the instructions and everything already written and done. The content itself is provided by you, of course, but the framework and everything that's Cascade that's based on is set up actually through what enrollment marketing has already done. Okay, so who has reviewed your content so far? Great, that's probably a question you've had in your heads. Is been enrollment marketing. Steve Shanahan, Gina, Amanda, Felicia, and I have all been looking at the content for approximately a month. The content that was reviewed by Amanda and Gina was according to the schools that they are embedded in. The student life section was reviewed by Felicia. The administrative content was reviewed by me, and Steve is taking care of the news migration and the redirects for the site. So one thing I wanted just to tell you up front is that this is continuing to be a work in progress. We are by no means done, and we want you to know that we have made every effort to update your content accordingly after the August 30th deadline. And that is a lot of a manual process that we've all been doing, reviewing the files that you guys have changed since that content lockdown and making those changes accordingly. The first thing I want to do is log into Cascade. This is the Cascade login page. This URL, I believe Steve has already sent out to you, but if you haven't received it, we can send it to you again. The credentials for logging into Cascade are your Active Directory, or the way you log into the computer as it is. We thought that would be the easiest way possible for everyone moving forward. So I've already, of course, logged in before, so my information is already in the system here. But I clicked on the login button, and what it takes me to is the dashboard page. The dashboard is basically like every other website or software that you've used. Gives you kind of a quick readout of what you've got going on in Cascade, what you have assignments to do, anything like that. And we're going to cover some of those things today, of course. So the first thing I want to do is show you how to get to the website. Now, we're logged in right now as myself, and I can also log in as a user as you guys. So let me just hang on 1 second here, and I'm going to log in as Black Diamond. There, a little bit less to look at, but you still get the idea. So Black Diamond would go in here, and Black Diamond can access the website via this link right here, or they can go up here to the drop-down menu and choose Point Park Cast Prod. Those are the two main ways to access the site. If you have access to more sites, you would obviously see more on the drop-down list here. One important side note to mention to you is that the Point Park Cast Prod, that is a internal name. And if you look up above in my browser, you'll see here the URL of cascade.pointpark.edu. Don't panic. That's just a temporary placeholder until we quote unquote flip the switch on the website and flip it over to the existing URL that we have, pointpark.edu. So let's talk about what you see on the left-hand side of the screen right now. You see a bunch of folders, and you see a lot of the files that you probably recognize from the old website. We try to keep the structure of the architecture of the website as similar as possible to the existing site. But the important thing to note here is if you've ever used any kind of file manager like Windows Explorer or Finder on a Mac, it's very similar to that. The left-hand side obviously is the folders and the files, and then if you were to click on anything, you'll see that first of all you mouse over, there's an arrow to the right. So I can actually expand it just by clicking on it right there, and then if I click to the right on the right arrow there, it actually will open everything that you saw to the left in the pane on the right-hand side, kind of giving you a more in-depth look at the files that are in there. The content that what we're going to do today for the demonstration is I'm going to do a few different edits, some simple things that we realize that you guys do on a regular basis, and we thought it would be really helpful to see how that's done. We're going to go over making an edit, adding some text to a page. We're going to go into adding a photo and resizing a photo, and we're also going to do a hyperlink to another page on the site. So at this point, I just wanted to tell everyone that we are monitoring the chat section. And Steve is actually monitoring it for me right now. And we're going to hand off as we go through the process here. But the point is that we'll take questions probably about like halfway through the presentation, and then we'll take questions at the end of the presentation. So if you have anything, feel free to write it down, put it in the chat, and we'll address them at those times. So let's talk about how to edit the page. So what we're going to do is, one second here, we're going to edit a page. We're going to actually edit the applying for financial aid page. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's not the page we're going to do. We're going to do graduate programs. I got my pages mixed up there. We're going to go to the graduate admissions page. The graduate admissions page is under the graduate programs folder, which is right here. And there's the page, graduate admissions. So if you just click on the page, or if I clicked on it over here, the page would have loaded and shown me what I needed to see. Okay, now, so what you see here is you're actually in the CMS. The blue band across the top is giving you that visual indicator that you are in the CMS. You're not live at the moment. Any changes that you make at this point are not going to be seen by the public. We're going to cover about how that process happens in a few minutes. But for the start, let's go ahead and make an edit to this page. So how we do that is we mouse over, and you can see that you can actually mouse over and see different sections of the site with a pop-up window that says what that area of the site is. For the most part, all the content that you're going to be editing is going to be in the default section. The default section of the page is the actual content that was migrated over, and that's where it was all placed. If you click on the Edit Content, which I'm going to do, a window will pop up, and as you can see, it says default. It's a standard page, which is the type of page that you're working on, and then there's the content row and an arrow. So at this point, it's condensed, and what you have to do is just click on the arrow to open it up. It's also going to have that condensed as well, the content item. It's just a deeper level, if you will, of the content row. And there is the content. I'll give you guys a second to see what I did there. So I'm going to just go back and do that again for you. I'm going to click on Edit Content, Content Row, content item. Great. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to first add some text in, and then we're going to add a photo in and add a link in. So I'm going to just make a pretend, I guess you would say, a pretend edit to this page. I'm going to go back and delete it later, but just for demonstration purposes. So first thing I'm going to do is I want to add an extra bullet to this section. And these bullets are actually formatted according to the style sheet that we've been provided by New City, our designers. So it's a new stylistic element that we haven't had before. But what's nice about it is if you're already in the bulleted list like you are here, you just hit enter, and it's automatically going to give you another bullet just like that. So for this particular case, I'm just going to put in the words apply now. And I'm going to do a click here. Actually, I'll take out the period. Okay. So there's the text. That's how you enter the text in. After you're done doing your edit to your text like that, you would go up and hit save. As you can see, the text is now in there. And what you're looking at, if you look up to the little blue box, it says draft. So we can actually compare and look at between what's in the current website and what's on the draft that you're working on at this point. Now I'm not done making edits yet because I want to add in the link and I want to add in an image. So I'm not ready to submit. You see this button over here? I'm not ready to submit that text just yet. I just want to make the rest of my edits and then submit it. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to click on edit again. Or I could click on edit here actually. So I'm going to do that because it's a little easier to see that. And again, right back to my page. And there's my text that I put in here. So I'm going to go ahead and add an image in. And what we're going to talk about here in on the image is we're going to talk about how to upload and how to resize an image. So first I'm going to put my cursor down here, and actually I'm going to put it, let's put a couple spaces in there. And I'm going to look at the WYSIWYG editor that we're looking at here, and I'm going to click on the Insert Edit Image icon. The WYSIWYG editor is very similar to WYSIWYG editors you've used in the past, especially for our CMS as well, our existing CMS. It is fairly straightforward, but I'm going to show you today how it kind of walks you through the process. There's some pop-up windows, and we're going to talk about each one of those, and I'm going to demonstrate that as best as I can for you. So first I'm going to click on the Insert Edit Image. What pops up is a window that says Insert Edit Image, and at this point you have a choice. You can choose to use an image internally or you can use externally. I would say 99% of the time you're going to use the internal checkbox. It's already checked for you. It's already set up by default to do that. So you really don't have to worry about making that decision. But the next thing you want to do is click on Choose File. And we're going to choose a file that's already uploaded into the system, but I'm going to resize it down to the specifications that I want it to be. So I'm going to browse because the CMS actually remembers where you were the last time you used the file. In this particular case, you can see the file path is the website, and then the admissions folder, and then the graduate programs folder. When the content migrated over, every one of the folders actually has a media folder with the images that came over with it. So it tried to keep everything as consistent and together as much as possible. I'm going to click on the circle radio button here for media. It already, as you can see, drilled down even deeper to the media folder. And I'm going to click on a couple more folders and go to, I want this image called gradweb4.jpg. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to show me this young lady, and really what I want to do is, make that image the size I need it to be within the browser or within the CMS editor. So I'm going to choose that photo. Now what it's done here is it said, okay, here's the file I chose. It automatically filled in the area there with the image. It also automatically filled in the dimensions of the photo as it is. As you can see, it's 685 by 199. And this is a common question that I know came up yesterday. People will say, well, how do we know what size to make our images? Well, lo and behold, we actually have a style guide for you to use that will recommend image sizes based on the type of content you're doing on your page. So it's kind of a, just a guide, if you will, on that. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep it at that size. It should be pretty wide, but we're going to go ahead and work with that and see what we can do. So here's a little catch-all. You saw here I did not put a description in for the image. You need to do so in order for people with visibility issues using different types of screen readers and things like that. So it's an accessibility issue. So I'm just going to put in here image of person and click OK. So there's my image. It automatically put it in. Now I might want to crop that or make that smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the image, just mouse over it, click image, and I want to what's going on here? Let's see. Oh, I know. Sorry. So what I can do is I can actually size it down within the dimensions of the box. So let's say I want the image to be 600 pixels wide rather than, let's say, 685 like it is. Or let's say maybe even smaller. Let's say 500. So what I can do is I can type in the 500, and then I click on this box. It automatically constrains the proportions down to the appropriate height of what it needs to be. So all I have to do now is hit OK, and it made it smaller. Now that's not perfect for what we actually want it to do, but for demonstration purposes, I think that kind of gives you an idea of the flexibility you have. One quick note about images: it's always easier to go smaller than it is to go bigger. So when you go bigger on an image that's bigger than the size that you've been given, it tends to pixelate the image and make it pretty fuzzy. The other thing I want to do while we're in here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to link the text of apply now to another page on the site. In this case, I know that I want to highlight apply now. And as you can remember on other WYSIWYG tools, there's a chain link here, meaning that you can insert or edit a link at this point. So I'm just going to click on that shortcut, that button. And it's very similar to the image upload. You click on link, and what happens is the Cascade provides another screen that says, okay, here are the pages that you've linked to already. Is there anything in here you want to use again? Or you can click on the browse button and browse to the link that you actually need. In my case, I know where this page is already. I know that it's at the uppermost level of the website, meaning that it's above admissions. It's actually right at the top level of the website, and it's called apply. So it's also just a page. It's not a folder. So I'm going to drill to the second page, and there you see it says apply now, or apply online, excuse me. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to select it, and then I click choose. So the apply now button, or the apply now link, is now ready to go. It already automatically shows the text to display as apply now because that's what I highlighted here. There's really no need to touch the target or the class or the title, and you click OK. And now the page is linked. At this point, it's important to note that you're still in the editor. You're still in this pop-up window, this overlay that you see. So it's important to remember to always, always, always save. So at this point, the page is saved. It's in the CMS. It's not live. And it has not been submitted for approval by any kind of content contributors or content editors. And so with that, I want to give Steve an opportunity to talk a little bit about how that submission process works. And I was going to wait and submit it until Steve can talk a little bit about it, and we can show you as he's talking.
Sure, thank you, Keith. I'll just start off by saying that we've made efforts to keep the workflows as consistent as possible with with what everyone is used to. If you are a content contributor, someone who submits your work to a content editor, that process is going to be the same, and this is going to be something that Keith is going to demonstrate here in a minute. If you're a content editor who has just been approving updates, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to log in, and really you're just going to look at your workflow queue and approve the updates that are coming through that have been submitted to you by your content contributors. And then one nice thing about the workflow in Cascade is that it allows us to have a little bit more control, especially for the content editors out there who up until this point have submitted and then had to approve their own updates. In our old CMS, that was kind of an arbitrary step that content editors had to take. So what's nice about this is you are just going to be making your updates and submitting them, and that's going to come right into the administrator's queue for us in enrollment marketing. So that's one less step that you'll have to take whenever you are updating and getting your content ready to publish. So that's one nice feature. I have individually tested everybody's accounts to make sure that you are able to A, access the content that you need to access, and B, get the updates through the workflow accordingly. So if you run into any issues in terms of access or the workflow, let me know. But one nice thing about Cascade is that if you're running into issues or have any problems, I can actually assume your identity in Cascade and see exactly what you're seeing and help you troubleshoot any problems. So hello?
Go ahead.
Am I still with everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, sorry about that. I'm having some issues here in our office, but I'll continue here. So the other, one other thing I just wanted to mention, something that you won't see yet as you're getting into your content and making edits and prepping it for site launch, are email notifications. Those aren't hooked up yet, but they will be hopefully, if not before launch, shortly after launch. Those will be a part of our workflow. So if somebody submits, if one of your content contributors submits something, you will receive an email once that's configured. But since everybody's going to be making theoretically several, a decent number of updates, we're just going to go with the straight workflow process without the email notifications as of right now.
I apologize, everyone. My system was doing some weird things with the sound, so I was having difficulty hearing Steve. But I know that you, Steve, you went through the workflow process. You want me to go ahead and show them then demonstrating it?
Yeah, that would be fine. Thanks, Keith.
No problem. Again, sorry for the interruptions there, guys. I didn't mean for that to happen. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to submit the page. And as Steve was talking about, the department workflow basically tells you what workflow you're in. And by default, a lot of you are going to be in the department workflow just because of the way we've set everything up. It's also telling me at the top there what I am editing. The updated content editor is the portion of content that changed. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and say check content and submit. What this is going to do is going to check the entire page for any broken links. We didn't have any, so that's great. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and click the blue box, this finish. The next thing that's going to load is a page that just tells you basically, okay, here's where your content's going. It's going to go to a editor review, and then it'll go to an administrator to approve. Administrator being Steve or myself or one of the other enrollment marketing team members. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Start Workflow. And the workflow has started. And as you can see, there's a little note down there at the bottom of my screen that says workflow created. So what this means is it's now going on to the editor for review. And the editor in this case is Black Diamond 2. So what we're going to do next is we're going to impersonate Black Diamond 2. Well, not impersonate, we're actually going to log in as Black Diamond 2. So I'm going to log out and log in as Black Diamond 2. Black Diamond 2 has a very similar view to Black Diamond 1, except this time the most important thing to look at is the little notification, the badge I like to call it, under the workflows area. It's telling me that I do have something to do. I have a department workflow to attend to. It's the graduate admissions process page, and it's waiting on me, or waiting on anyone, I should say, anyone of the level in my department that has as a content review. And if you have a small department, it might just be one person. But at this point, I have the option to assign the step to myself, which I'm going to do. And at this point, too, I'm going to look at the page just to see what was done to the page. I can see here that this person has told me that there's an apply now and that there's a image uploaded, and the apply now button is linked. I'm going to check it by just clicking on it, just to double check to make sure everything is fine. Back page. And at this point, too, I can also navigate back to the approval screen by just clicking on the department workflow hyperlink up here at the top right. I'm going to mouse down to available actions. At this point, I can approve it and finish the process, or I can return for revision if I decide that there's something else that needs to be done. At this point, I'm good with it, so I'm going to go ahead and approve it. And another window pops up, just again to walk you through the process, just holding your hand throughout the whole thing. And I'm just going to say in here, I approved this page, like the image. Okay. And I don't have to put my name or anything because it's actually going to remember that because I'm writing it and I'm logged in as Black Diamond 2. And there you can see my comment to the next person. The next person would be the administrator to approve it. So let's pretend to be the administrator, which is myself. So I'm going to log out and log in as myself. And look, I've got a few things in my workflow based on yesterday's training and today. But the one I want to look at, is, of course, is the one we were talking about. So graduate admissions process. So at this point, I double check your work. I look at the page, make sure everything is fine. I have a ability to make comments and make changes at this level too, but everything looks okay to me. So I'm going to go back to the process, and I'm going to assign it to myself. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and approve and publish. And page looks great. And I'm going to hit submit. So as you can see down below there, it says finalizing publishing finished. So the page is already published. It is now live. It is now viewable to the general public. And let's go back to the page. And I'll show you one more cool little trick. that Cascade has for you. If you go over to the right corner, you're going to see 3 dots and a More button. If you click on that button, you're going to get a drop-down list. The important thing to look at for our demo today is the Live shortcut. What that's going to do is launch a new tab in your browser. I don't know if you noticed there, it opened it up automatically, and it launched the window and also the page that I was editing. As you can see, too, the edits have gone through. There's the image of the young lady. The Apply Now button is linked, and should be all set. And there we go. So that's an example of the publishing process. Now we've approached the bottom of the hour, and we're about halfway through. This is a good time to ask me any questions. We're going to show you the rest. We're going to show you the new site, of course, and we're going to show you some of the fancier pages that we've got created, and show you some of the bells and whistles that we have at our disposal with the new site. But at this point, I wanted to take any questions about the content editor, the approval process, anything that you've noticed so far. Okay, sounds good. I didn't see anything in the chat, so I guess we're okay to go. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is just kind of a demo of what we've created so far in the site. You're looking at an admissions page right now, but I want to show you some other things, especially the degree landing pages. So let's go and talk about the actual site. So welcome to the new homepage of Point Park University. We went through a very labor-intensive process to come to the site you see in front of you right now. I understand that the video in the background may be a little choppy for you. It's because you're looking at it through a GoToMeeting feed. So if you look at it actually on your machines after this meeting, it'll look normal and fine. It's called ambient video. It's a new practice by a lot of web designers and developers. Kind of draws your eye in a little more closer to the page and gets you to read what's in front of it a little closer, I guess you could say. But the homepage is actually it's a change from what the existing page was, and it's a good change because what we realized was there was a lot of navigation options on the existing site, and we needed to whittle that down and make that something that is more streamlined and easier to comprehend. I'm going to scroll down. As you can see, we put a lot of emphasis on news. We have first off a row here that features a main news story, or in this case, drawing attention to the bachelor's and master's programs. More dynamic imagery. Really trying to draw your attention in, showing that we are about the students and showing that we want to tell stories about those students and their experiences at Point Park. This image, by the way, needs to be aligned to the left. It's a alignment issue that we're working on right now, so don't be distracted by that. The navigation at the left is it was a work by New City and by us to find out what is the most relative links to, or what is the most requested links by prospective students, and what is the best practices used by other universities with their websites. And so one of the things we found out, we came to the conclusion, was About Us, academics, admissions and financial aid, and internships and career prep and student life were all vital things that people looked for on the main webpage. A lot of you are probably saying right now, well, what about the old navigation? What about the people that forgot where they were going to, or needed to, had things, they knew where they were going before with the old website? Well, we have a solution for you. Down below here, there's something called A to Z Quick Links. A to Z Quick Links is essentially the directory of the site. It basically gives you a table of contents or a listing of every single important page that we felt was necessary to call attention to. How does it look on a cell phone? Mark asked the question. Thank you, Mark. I'm going to size it down right now. So I'm going to start shrinking the page down. And so far, okay. And it's going to be continuing to be okay. So at this point, you're getting to probably about what an iPad would be, about that size. This is what the user would see. We're going to continue shrinking down to, this is approximately the width of what a phone would be. And as you can see, the navigation has condensed. It's now a drop-down menu that you just click on or you would tap on with your finger, and then the list itself is right there. So everything that we've done with this site has been with responsive design in our in our sites, and we really took that very seriously. It was a good challenge to have because we've learned that 70% of our audience now tends to look at our content on a responsive device, whether that be a tablet or a phone. I'm going to size down the page again when I show you a couple other things. I've actually already made a couple shortcuts, but one of the pages that we have, of course, is the undergraduate majors page. It's the listing of every single major we have here at the university. I can size that down for you, but I think you're going to get the same kind of idea of what you're going to see. Here we go. Sizing it down. Like so. Oh, homepage, absolutely. So, here we go. As you can see, the content starts to stack. We did that on purpose, so that way you can still have the same sort of experience you would if you were looking at the homepage on a full-size computer screen, what have you. And I'm going to also show you a degree page. Excuse me. Let's look at economics and finance. All the degree pages are going to be built using this new type of template that we have at our disposal. As you can see, we've kind of taken a new approach to the content, making it very, giving it a lot of space, and using the opportunity to tell stories about the faculty, career options, alumni success stories, and so forth. This is just one example of a degree landing page. I can pull up another one for you here momentarily. On the left-hand side, you'll see that we always keep the Apply Now and Request More Info buttons readily available. But I'm going to resize the page now to a smaller width so you can see what it's going to look like. Again, the imagery on the website is all responsive design, so it sizes accordingly. Menu, and then we're going to scroll down. Again, keeping the same experience, keeping the majority of the content, actually all the content, on the page as exactly as it was before. Just pull that back up like that. Let me pull up another degree landing page so you can see another one. Let's see here. I wanted to do, let's do civil engineering. Civil engineering has a video, of course, at the top of its page, kind of telling a little bit more of the story. But again, calling attention to alumni and current students that are in the process, calling attention to faculty spotlights, career options, alumni success stories, and so forth. Let me size that down so you can see what alumni success stories look like. What else do I want to show you? I think that's pretty much everything I really wanted to show you with the landing pages, the quick links. As you will have access to the site, you'll be able to uh, go around and click around and look at different things that we have built thus far. Again, I just want to stress that the content that you have at your disposal or under your control is been migrated over, and it's also been updated if we've had a chance to look at your pages already and compare it to the existing content that's on the site. We have a way to date stamp it and look at the date to find out what were the latest amount of edits, recent amount of edits you made to your site, and copy those over and put those into the new CMS and then publish them. So we're trying to save as much work for you all as we can when it comes to looking at your content. And that is the next step. The next step is we need you to look at the content that you've been assigned to as a content editor or content contributor, and go ahead and review that to see what kind of what kind of any changes that you need to make, so forth, that kind of thing. And then you submit it through the process. You submit it through the approval process, and it comes to us, and we will approve it and publish it and go from there. Now I see Michael asks, will you cover creating forms and submit buttons? Yes, the submit buttons are pre-programmed into the templates that you'll have at your disposal. You'll be able to create buttons. It'll tell you, like, choose the color, choose the drop down, that kind of thing. It's very straightforward with the templates of the site. And that's something that we're probably going to go into another discussion down the road, just because creating new pages and using the templates does take a little bit more time to explain and to work through. But it's very straightforward. It's very much a WYSIWYG tool, that sort of thing. The forms.
Keith, you mind if I jump in
real
please. Quick right there?
I was going to say, so please talk about the forms.
Yeah, absolutely. So if there was a form that was built out in the form builder of our current content management system, our old content management system, I have built all of those out in a software called Spectate. It's like a sister software for Cascade, and I have embedded those in their respective pages on the new site. So that's another kind of next step for everyone, is if you had forms that were built out on the form builder in our old CMS, please check those forms that I have embedded on their respective pages on the new website, just to make sure they're functioning up to, functioning the way you would anticipate that they would function. I built them out and programmed them as closely as I could to match the function of the old forms in the old CMS. So please go ahead and test those out. And if you run into any issues with the way they're functioning or the content, also just reach out to me. As of right now, I'm the only one that can create forms in Spectate, so I'm kind of centrally managing all of those forms now. But going down the road, depending on what types of forms you need, how many forms you need, we may give others access to maintain their forms in Spectate as well.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you explaining that to the users today. One other thing I want to just mention to everyone too is to remind you that this is a work in progress. The launch is just the beginning for this website. We're having a better format to share the experience, the Point Park experience, with our users with this new website, and we're excited about it. We think it's going to be a great step in the 21st century direction for us. And I think that it's also something that we're all learning what we can do with this website together, and we're going to be able to push it in new directions that we haven't had the ability to do so before. But again, just to remind you, it is a work in progress. There are going to be changes to the site made over the next many months. All Okay, I will take, or Steve and I will take any questions you have at this point, since we're nearing the conclusion of the presentation. I don't hear any questions. Does anyone have anything they want to put on the chat forum? Okay. Well, thank you for your time today, everyone. We do appreciate it. Steve will send out the link if he hasn't already to you to access the Cascade CMS. Again, just using your Active Directory credentials to log in. And please let us know what questions, concerns you have. Drop us an email, send us give us a call. If you're sending anything over email, you want us to see something, just keep in mind, again, that Steve can actually go into the CMS and log in as you, impersonate you, basically, and look to see what you're looking at. It's going to make troubleshooting a whole lot easier for us. Okay, Michael says, can you repeat if we are responsible for updating our own content from scratch? No, you're not responsible for updating your own content from scratch. What you're responsible for is updating your content as it is in the site. So the site, what we've done is we've gone through and migrated everything since August 30th, or ending on August 30th, the version of that content. Then what we've done is we've gone in and we've looked at the old CMS and we've said, okay, what changes, in your case, Michael, what changes have you made to your site, pages, that kind of thing. We copy over those changes and then put that into Cascade. So we're trying to keep it as most recently updated as possible. But we are still working through a lot of those pages. And I can tell you offline after this training if there's pages that you're working on that, whether we've touched them or not. But we have touched a lot of the pages and worked on a lot of the content. So we should be able to help you out with that respect. Okay. Well, if anyone has any other questions, like I said, feel free to reach out to us. Steve is going to be out of the office next week, but feel free to drop me a line. I'll be happy to answer any questions or walk you through anything. And we did record this training today. We are going to encode it and make it available for your repeat listening. Thank you so much.
Bye.